Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to MLW Rise to Fame. This is the second episode. It could be the first actual weekly episode of Fusion. The feedback I got was that, it was just from just one man, the Rick Malloy, and I'll do what he says because you don't want to get on his bad side because he's the king of TEW. But he said one Fusion per episode because it's easier to digest. And that is something I can definitely agree with because it very much is. My problem was I didn't want to be like just quick, short, snappy episodes. I sort of had the mindset of I don't want it to be under 10 minutes because of ad revenue and shit. But I've only got like 40 odd subscribers. I don't get money off this anyway, so it doesn't make much of a difference, if any, at all. So let's get on with the show. Also, the difference between this and the WWE save is, unlike the WWE save where I want to like go in more depth and explain certain aspects of the promos, this one's going to be just short promo because it's more of a less of a sports entertainment sort of thing. So the promos aren't going to be as long and have as much detail into them. So writing them out is something that I probably will be able to do. Whereas in the WWE save, it was just a massive block of text that I could not be asked to type out, and I was like, I'll just explain it. So anyway, MLW champion Tom Lawler opens up the first Fusion following Kings of Colosseum, and he comes out, he says, last week I did what I said I would do. I proved that Contra Unit were not unstoppable, and that it's going to take more than a few cheap shots to weaken my will and take this MLW championship from my hands. Simon Gotch and Joseph Samael, the other two members of Contra Unit, come out. Gotch has the mic and he's like, you disgust me. The nickname Filthy has never been more appropriate than right now, because you, Lawler, and your cheap tactics, severely hurting another human being just to fulfill your own ego. Because, of course, Jacob Fatu did get injured in that match. He says, but needless to say, what doesn't kill Contra Unit only makes them stronger. Lawler, he laughs, and he's like, I see kicking someone's ass to the point of injury is apparently looked down upon in wrestling. Even though where I come from, it's the only way to survive. Except it's just you who looks down upon me, not the entire business of wrestling and not the fans, only because your boy couldn't get the job done. So feel free for either one of you Contra douchebags to step to me, and I'll leave you looking like Jacob too. And then I ran out of text space, but Joseph Samael would step up and he'd be like, yeah, bitch, come on, I'll fight you in the main event tonight. So the main event is going to be MLW champion Tom Lawler against Joseph Samael of Contra Unit. Tag team match, following on from the match from King of Colosseum, where Myron Reed beat Ray Horace. It's going to be Ray Horace teaming up with Puma King to take on Rich Swann and Myron Reed, where Ray Horace gets the win back over Myron with a Super Hurricane Rana. 46 for Myron, 49 for Swann, 46 for Horace, 37 for Puma King. Myron Reed he's very young, but he's actually very good already because he's nearly scoring the same as Rich Swann, who has that bonus of being in a Fleesh mod and once wrestling in WWE. So therefore he's going to start with decent pop. That's good for Myron. We then get a promo from the Dynasty outside their mansion where they're all sat on deck chairs, Arya Blake on MJF's lap. This is the very same scene that I saw recently in the actual MLW, and it's a nice setting, I think, for young douchebags to cut their promos from. And MJF's like, boy, at Kings of Colosseum we sure did teach a lesson to those Hart boys, didn't we? They need to realise there is a reason why they're the outcasts of the family, and that's because they absolutely suck. That Alexander Hammerstone, he speaks, he says, indeed, the Pillsbury Doughboy, speaking about Brian Pillman Jr., thought he could step up to me, to big Alex Hammerstone, national openweight champion. That boy must have a few screws loose. Then MJF, he takes the speaking back. He says, guess it runs in the family. Because his dad was the loose cannon. But then old D.H. Smith and Teddy Westside jumped in and thought they got the upper hand. Nuh-uh. When we next cross path with the Harty boys, the Dynasty are going to put them down as fast as you can say, Brett screwed Brett. So a lot of digs at the Hart family as a whole there. And there's actually a nice introductory food for me because I keep calling the Hart Foundation the Hart Dynasty because I think of the Hart Foundation as the actual Hart Foundation, and the Hart Dynasty was the newer Hart sort of stable with Natalya and Tyson Kidd and all them. So having a stable called the Dynasty makes it easier to remember that it's the Hart Foundation and not the Hart Dynasty. But yeah, four technically if you count Arya Blake, but she's just a manager. So Hammerstone, Holiday. Interestingly, Holiday and Hammerstone improvised by about the segment, despite Holiday not speaking, but not MJF. But he is the main talker, and he's the reason it got so good. So I'm not going to criticise him. Damn, a really good match here. Austin Aries versus Adam Brooks. Again, like real life, this actually happened on the Fusion show before Kings of Colosseum. But because I didn't book that show, technically it didn't happen in my canon, so we're doing it now. And Austin Aries is the most valuable member of my roster right now. He's getting 74s. And he's not really something I want to put the title on, though, because it's Austin Aries. He's good. He's a great guy to have around and get smash out good ratings for, but he's just not really someone I want to make my world champion. But then, Aries is celebrating when Selena De La Renta walks onto the stage. She's like, Austin, you thought you would stick your beak in business you weren't involved in. See, you're new here, and you think you're the big shot who can do what he wants because he's Austin Aries, he's ex-WWE guy, indie megastar, thinks he can just walk straight into the top. But allow me to introduce myself. I am Selena De La Renta, and you have just made some powerful enemies. Aries is assaulted from behind by Ricky Martinez of Promoción Dorado. He assaults him when Selena pulls out a table. Aries is put through it as Promoción Dorado stand tall. This part is obviously because they are both part of the stable, so I can put that, but it was originally the entire stable with LA Park and Hijo de LA Park as well, but they're not available for me because they're working, I think, AAA tonight, which is going to be a pain in the arse, so I might have to move the date that Fusion airs. Main event, not as great as the last match. Tom Lawler defeats Joseph Samael when Samael gets disqualified because Simon Gotch ran in and attacked Lawler. And he's got an Achilles tendonitis, which may keep him out of action. That sounds great. Shit ending segment because it was based on overness and Samael has no pop. Lawler has minimal pop. Gotch, again, being an ex-WWE guy, probably has the most pop of the bunch. And the show as overall gets an 44 D. And yeah, our production values aren't as good because we're apparently head-to-head with AEW. Because I keep getting notifications when AEW up their broadcast. And AEW have like millions of dollars. We only have like around 100k. But we are still gaining pop with 44D shows. So it's not going to be too much of an issue. I think actually I'm going to show like just to add something a bit more to these episodes, if it just being like a quick episode of Fusion. Maybe because it's more interactive, I'll show you like the mailbox and what's going on behind the scenes more than I do in the WWE save. So we can keep looking at El Hijo del Santo and these pictures of Sami Zayn until the database decides it's going to load. CWFH Time to Kill. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has run a show. I wonder if... See, the thing here is that makes it different than any other save is when the WWE guys' contracts come up, I can't grab them unless they like get let go. Whereas when you're running a normal company like AEW or Impact, you can probably grab them when their contracts have expended. This is something I do want to check actually. How long is Lawler out for? 33 days. That's fine, to be honest, because I didn't have him penciled in for a title defense on my next pay-per-view anyway. So I can work with that. That's actually not too bad. Rosemary is the Smash Women's Champion. NXT UK had a show. Tyler Breeze is back on Raw. New tag team in NXT UK. Tony Storm and Rhea Ripley. That's an interesting tag team. But yeah, I think that's about everything really. And this was the second episode of MLW Rise to Fame. I'll see you next time for the third issue of Fusion. See you then.